You walk into a room and suddenly everyone's acting different. More honest, more uncomfortable, more real. People start confessing things they've never told anyone, questioning choices they've defended for years. It's not what you say because you barely speak. It's something deeper that forces them to drop their masks. This isn't coincidence or luck. It's a specific psychological mechanism that INFJs trigger without even trying. You're about to discover the 3 silent forces that make you an agent of change in every interaction, whether you want to be or not. Before we start, please hit the like button, comment, and subscribe so you won't miss any of our weekly deep dives into the world of personality types. And if you're looking for a deeper understanding of yourself and your INFJ personality, browse our favorite INFJ products in the description and click the link in the comments to take our favorite free personality test, The Mirror Effect: How Your Presence Exposes Hidden Truths. As an INFJ, you naturally see through the lies people tell themselves about their relationships, careers, and life choices. You don't need evidence or explanations. You feel the disconnect between who they claim to be and who they actually are. And that creates a problem for them because your silence becomes louder than words. When someone says they're happy in their job while their entire body language screams exhaustion, you don't argue with them. You don't challenge their story. You just sit there, and somehow that quiet presence makes them hear themselves clearly for the first time in years. They start filling the void with their most honest thoughts, the ones they've been avoiding. The truth is, you reflect back their potential versus their current reality, and that creates internal tension they can't ignore. Most people live in a comfortable fog of self-deception. They've convinced themselves that settling is wisdom, that giving up on dreams is maturity. But then they meet you, and your energy demands authenticity in a way that makes their excuses sound hollow, even to themselves. People around you start questioning patterns they've never examined because you project this quiet expectation of truth. Not judgment, just truth. You don't have to say anything about their failed relationship or their creative dreams they abandoned. Your presence alone makes them realize they've been lying to themselves about being okay with less than they deserve. The discomfort isn't judgment from you. It's their own conscience finally getting a voice. You become this living reminder of what integrity looks like, what it means to live aligned with your values. And for people who've been compromising themselves for years, that's both inspiring and terrifying. This plays out everywhere in your life. In friendships, you're the one people call when they're finally ready to admit their relationship isn't working. At work, colleagues start questioning why they're accepting treatment they know is wrong. In family dynamics, relatives begin acknowledging patterns they've ignored for decades. You don't create these realizations. You just make it impossible for people to avoid them. Your authenticity becomes a mirror that shows them exactly how far they've drifted from their own truth. And once someone sees that gap clearly, they can't unsee it. The strangest part is how this happens without any effort from you. You're not trying to be a catalyst for change. You're just being yourself, speaking honestly when you do speak, and refusing to participate in the collective pretending that most social interactions require. That refusal to play along with surface-level conversations forces everyone around you to go deeper, whether they plan to or not. Some people love this about being around you. They feel permission to be real in a way they rarely experience elsewhere. Others find it overwhelming because they're not ready to face what your presence reveals about their choices. But either way, they're changed by the interaction. Your energy doesn't just reflect what is, it reflects what could be. When you look at someone, you see their unused potential, their buried dreams, their authentic self underneath all the conditioning. And somehow, through your attention alone, you make them see it too. That vision becomes impossible to ignore once it's been acknowledged. This is why conversations with you tend to be remembered long after they're over. You don't just exchange information or pleasantries, you create moments of clarity that people carry with them for months or years. Your presence becomes this checkpoint where people measure how honest they're being with themselves about their lives. The catalyst. Why people transform after meeting you. Here's what happens that most people never recognize about your influence as an INFJ. You don't just show people their current reality versus their potential. You unconsciously project a vision of who someone could become, not just who they are right now. And that projection becomes a psychological contract they feel obligated to fulfill. When you interact with someone, you're not seeing them through the lens of their past mistakes or current limitations. You're seeing them as their best possible self, and you treat them accordingly. This isn't naive optimism or wishful thinking. It's your natural ability to perceive human potential that others can't see yet. Your belief in their potential becomes this invisible standard they start measuring themselves against. You don't give advice or make demands. You just consistently interact with them as if they're already the person they could become. That subtle shift in how you see them creates a new identity for them to grow into. The psychological mechanism here is powerful. Most people are used to being seen through the filter of their weaknesses, their past, their obvious flaws. But you see past all that noise to something deeper. You see their core strengths, their unexpressed talents, their capacity for growth. And when someone feels truly seen at that level, it awakens something in them. You don't give traditional advice because you understand something most people miss. The answers they need are already inside them. They don't need more information or motivation. They need someone to ask the right questions, the ones that make them realize what they already know deep down but haven't been willing to acknowledge. Your questions aren't random. They're surgical. You have this way of cutting through all the surface explanations to get to the real issue underneath. When someone's complaining about their job, you might ask something like, "What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail?" That simple question bypasses all their practical objections and connects them directly to their authentic desires. Your standards become their internal benchmark, even when you never voice any expectations. This happens because you naturally hold space for people's highest potential. You don't lower your energy to match their current level of functioning. You maintain this quiet expectation of excellence that pulls them upward without making them feel judged. The fascinating part is how this influence works on a delayed timer. People start making changes months after knowing you because your impact operates at a subconscious level first. You plant seeds of possibility that take time to germinate. Someone might suddenly quit their soul-crushing job 6 months after a single conversation with you, finally acting on the clarity you helped them access. You also understand the strategic power of withdrawing your energy when someone isn't ready to evolve. This isn't manipulation or punishment. It's recognition that some people need to feel the absence of your supportive presence before they'll value the growth it was encouraging. When you step back from someone who's been resistant to change, they often experience this void where your belief in them used to be. That absence becomes a mirror too, showing them what they're choosing when they choose to stay stuck. Many times, this withdrawal is what finally motivates them to make the changes they've been avoiding. Your influence isn't about forcing transformation, it's about creating conditions where transformation becomes the most attractive option. You make growth feel possible by seeing it before it happens. You make change feel safe by holding steady faith in someone's ability to handle whatever comes next. The people who transform after meeting you often can't explain exactly how it happened. They just know that something shifted in their self-perception after being around you. They started seeing themselves through your eyes, and that perspective revealed possibilities they'd been blind to before. The price of this power, what it costs you and how to control it. Carrying everyone's potential becomes an emotional burden you never asked for. You walk through life constantly aware of the gap between who people are and who they could become. That awareness is exhausting because you feel responsible for possibilities that others can't even see yet. People either transform around you or distance themselves, and there's rarely a middle ground. Those who aren't ready for growth often pull away because your presence makes their stagnation uncomfortable. Meanwhile, those who do evolve sometimes become dependent on your vision of them, looking to you for validation instead of developing their own internal compass. You're constantly managing the weight of seeing what others refuse to acknowledge about themselves. Every interaction becomes this delicate balance between honoring their potential and accepting their current choices. You want to help people grow, but you can't force readiness that doesn't exist. Learning to use this influence strategically instead of letting it drain you unconsciously requires boundaries most people don't understand. You need to distinguish between being a mirror by accident and wielding this power with intention. The difference is choosing when to reflect someone's potential and when to simply let them be where they are. The key is recognizing that your gift of seeing potential doesn't make you responsible for whether someone acts on it. Your job is to see clearly and reflect honestly, not to manage other people's growth timelines. Understanding these mechanisms is the first step to protecting your energy while still helping others evolve. Your silent power isn't mystical, it's psychological precision that most people lack. You force change not through confrontation, but through the simple act of seeing people clearly, both as they are and as they could become. This ability makes you both magnetic and intimidating, which explains the intense reactions you get from others. Subscribe for more insights into turning your INFJ traits into strategic advantages. If you want to continue the journey to understanding yourself or an INFJ in your life, click either of the following videos where we continue to unlock the secrets of the INFJ personality type.